The US, UK, EU wishlist for the Kingdom of Eswatini echoed by African Tourism Board. Misinformation on social media is blamed for the violence in the Kingdom of Eswatini according to government sources. Political experts think the situation has been made worse by foreign insurgents due to the fact that Eswatini is recognizing the Republic of China known as Taiwan over the People's Republic of China with the capital in Beijing. Protests and looting has been recorded in the African Kingdom of Eswatini. The Eswatini people had been demanding democracy. This first peaceful attempt was ruined by criminal elements, taking advantage by the fragile situation to loot, rob and kill. This was responded to with more violence. According to a government source, a sense of stability has returned and King Mswati Kings called for a Sibaya. The African Tourism Board is headquartered in Eswatini and echoed the joint statement issued by the United States, the European Union and the United Kingdom calling for calm and a constructive dialogue between all parties. Located between South Africa and Mozambique, the country has suffered what Amnesty International has defined as a full frontal assault on human rights, as the monarchy desperately attempts to hold on to power. King Mswati King's call to Sibaya for Friday has been met with mixed reactions from members of the public. While others said they were happy that the king may finally address the nation following the pro-democracy protests which culminated in violence, looting and destruction of property, others said they believed that it was too soon to call the nation, particularly due to the COVID-19 pandemic third wave. The king made the call for Sibaya through Indvuna Themba Ginanza in a press conference held at Ludzidzini royal residence yesterday. The king said all Swati should be seated inside the cattle byre by 10 a.m. The king said the Sibaya proceedings would be broadcast live so that those who could not make it to the venue could follow from the comfort of their homesteads through all media channels. The monarch emphasized that those who would be following the proceedings through the media channels should listen attentively to what would be said. The king assured the nation that all those who would participate would be tested for COVID-19 before entering the cattle byre. He said health practitioners would start work at 7 a.m. to ensure that all people were tested for the virus. He mentioned that tags would be provided to make sure that only those who tested entered the cattle byre. He encouraged the nation to take the necessary precautions should they test positive for the virus. However, the call evoked various reactions from different quarters. The agenda was not readily available, which left people wondering whether the king would address the nation or if the floor would be open for Swati to express their views as it happened during the last Sibaya in 2018, before the announcement of the late Ambrose Mandvulo Dlamini as Prime Minister. Others speculated that perhaps a new Prime Minister would be unveiled as the position was currently occupied by Themba Masuku, albeit on an acting basis. According to Section 232 of the Constitution, Sibaya is the Swazi National Council, which states that the people, through Sibaya, constitute the highest policy and advisory council of the nation. Section 232 states that the Sibaya is the Swazi National Council constituted by Bant Fwa Benkosi, Tikulu of the real and all adult citizens gathered at the official residence of the Queen Mother under the chairmanship of Ingwenyama, who may delegate the function to any official. Sibaya functions as the annual general meeting of the nation, but may be convened at any time to present the views of the nation on pressing and controversial national issues, reads subsection 3. The EU, the UK, and the United States issued a second statement today saying, "The European Union, United States, and United Kingdom missions welcome the calling of a Sibaya which allows King Mswati III to address his people and represents an initial opportunity for citizens to express their views. It is critically important that King Mswati III, the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini, and those seeking political reforms commit to engaging in a comprehensive and inclusive dialogue with all stakeholders in the country, including political parties, women's and youth movements, trade unions and other civil society organizations, and agree to accept the outcome of a national dialogue. Eswatini is at a critical moment where broad consensus on how to move forward from the recent violence and division in the country is needed. The diplomatic missions are engaging contacts at all levels of government and civil society, appealing to a constructive dialogue that should cover all relevant issues including requests to open the political space, to issue a clear statement that the 2005 Constitution revoked the ban on political parties under the 1973 decree, and to guarantee media freedom and respect for human rights. We urge H.M. King Swati III to instruct all security forces to exercise maximum restraint in the application of force and end military deployments as soon as possible, and to recall the international human rights commitments and obligations of Eswatini. The forthcoming mission of the SADC organ Troika is an important step toward dialogue and healing, and SADC is expected to take into account submissions from all relevant stakeholders, including a broad spectrum of civil society organizations, members of parliament, and opposition. We condemn all the acts of violence and reiterate our deep regret at the fatalities and injuries suffered in recent weeks. We call on all parties to refrain from violence and to seek a peaceful and speedy resolution. Justice must be given the space to investigate, independently and transparently, recent incidents that have resulted in the loss of life, destruction of property, and disruption of livelihoods. All perpetrators, regardless of affiliation, must be held accountable.